Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. That saying has been used time and time again when it comes to any sort of art, and professional wrestling is a narrative performance art unlike any other. Pro wrestling gets a lots of its inspiration from pop culture, and some of these ideas come directly from movies, whether it be a storyline or a particular gimmick. So let's see how many wrestling gimmicks we can find that often blatantly incorporated ideas from movies into their character, into their ring gear, and then went on to put their own spin on them. With a little help from DDP, Scott Hall created the Diamond Stud gimmick, which not only got him in the door at WCW, but it also got him noticed by the WWE. When they came calling, Hall took everything good about the stud character and borrowed a few extra details from the now cult classic Al Pacino mob movie Scarface.
Say hello to my little friend!
Hall built a character that closely resembled Tony Montana, shady and stylish Miami bully that would say things like,
"Say hello to Razor Ramon. I come from the gutter."
Scott Hall pitched this idea to Vince McMahon and Pat Patterson, whom have never heard or seen of the movie. Both were completely blown away by the idea, and not long after, the character of Razor Ramon was born.
You lost.
Introducing him in a big way by recreating scenes from the movie and filming vignettes in South Beach, Florida. Scott Hall pulled another rabbit out of his hat when he arrived in WCW. After a backstage talk with Sting about whether he was going to keep the surfer paint since his gimmick worked in the 1980s, when wrestling was still larger than life world of cartoonish characters and coke-fueled promos. But when the edgier decade of the 90s came about, Sting knew he needed a change if he was to survive what we would later call the Attitude Era. Hall suggested that the Stinger should check out a movie called The Crow. For the uninitiated, like Sting was, the movie is about a rock star who was brutally murdered alongside his fiancée. 1 year later, he's resurrected to take revenge and make things right. Which is exactly what happened with the Sting versus the NWO storyline, except for the brutal murder and the fiancé part. Clearly, Brandon Lee, the son of Bruce Lee, who starred as the Crow in the movie, must have resonated with the Stinger, who used the Crow Sting gimmick for almost close to 30 years. Back in 2003, when Johnny Depp first donned eyeliners and a weird pirate accent, it took Hollywood by storm and the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise was born. It was bound to happen eventually in the WWE, and Paul Burchill, before running through several gimmicks, he would eventually start swinging into arenas doing his best, or maybe worst impression of Captain Jack Sparrow. The gimmick of Mankind was tweaked by Foley himself, who played the character as a tortured soul, rocking back and forth with bleary eyes staring out from behind a leather mask. The creative side of Mick must have been thinking of Hannibal Lecter from Silence of the Lambs. Or perhaps even Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Indeed, the deliberately worn headgear came across as a direct mix between Leatherface's human skin piece or Lecter's mask, which had a similar aesthetic. The Hawaiian shirt-wearing Waylon Mercy was one of the most interesting characters in 1995. Introduced in the middle of the New Generation era when the company rarely ever produced any darker or serious-toned characters, instead sticking to a more cartoon-like approach. Mercy was the only one that was an exception to that rule at that time. Complete with Hawaiian shirt, white attire, and bizarre tattoo, all directly influenced by Robert De Niro's portrayal of Max Cady in the 1991 movie Cape Fear. Waylon Mercy took direct inspiration from Cady's pattern of quiet cleverness and violent rage.
I'm just a peaceful individual who likes no problem.
Acting like a gentleman outside of the ring, Mercy was an unpredictable force once the bell rang. Sadly, the wrestler behind the gimmick, Dan Spivey, was forced to retire due to injuries, thus robbing everyone of a prolonged run for a character which could have been special. The most easily recognizable and remembered pop culture inspired gimmick is the tag team of Road Warrior Hawk and Road Warrior Animal, collectively known as the Legion of Doom. Hawk and Animal were much larger than most wrestlers of their day, and the addition of face paint and spiked armor inspired from the movie Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, only enhanced their threatening demeanor. The gimmick gave them a distinct look that was easily recognizable and merchandisable, and that quickly made them fan favorites. Road Warrior Animal allegedly hated the gimmick at first, believing the over-the-top costuming made him look like one of the village people. Fortunately, he got over it, and the two went on to become tag team wrestling legends that they are. Over the course of her nearly decade-long run with the WWE, Alexa Bliss's character has gone through a variety of gimmicks. Debuting as a glittery fairy character, but over time has grown into something far more sinister. Taking a page straight out of Margaret Robbie's portrayal of the Harley Quinn from the movie Suicide Squad, Bliss was able to showcase her villain side that was just as evil as it was playful. Jim Cornette is the man to thank for Kane's quite brilliant aura, because the former WWE creative mind envisioned The Undertaker's brother as the embodiment of evil. Cornette described his initial concept for the Kane character as one without remorse or emotion, admitting that he took inspiration from the Halloween film series. Kane was supposed to be like a wrestling version of Michael Myers. Expressionless behind his mask, Kane's stony look and blank stare made the character feel entirely inhuman. In Halloween, the sheer lack of empathy or connection to the person behind the mask is crucial to the success of Myers as a character. Cornette imagined that same emptiness for Kane, as if The Undertaker's brother had been stripped of any and all feelings. The whole idea worked like a treat, and there was nobody like Kane on the WWE landscape, not even Taker himself, who had been humanized somewhat by 1997. If you'd like to see more wrestling content like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment if you think that I might have missed any other wrestling gimmicks that were based on movies.